Hi everyone, this is Andrew. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. It's another beautiful day here in the sunny side of Western Massachusetts. It is, of course, Wednesday, June 4, 2014, and of course, thank you for watching. Now, here's a very, very important article. It's out of the radaronline.com. USCB mass shooter Elliot Rogers' dependence on Xanax made him more withdrawn, lonely, isolated, and anxious, says Insider. As law enforcement begins to piece together the days leading up to UCSB mass shooter Elliot Rogers' bloody rampage, disturbing details about the community college students' dependence on Xanax, which, according to sources, made the son of Hunger Games' second unit director Peter Rogers more withdrawn, lonely, and anxious. RadarOnline.com is exclusively reporting, based on interviews with Elliot's parents, Peters, and Lee Chin, the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department is being told that he was likely addicted to Xanax. Peter and Lee have been doing basic research on addiction to Xanax, and based on what they have read, they believe the tranquilizer made him more withdrawn, lonely, isolated, and anxious, a source told Radar. Alright, I'm not going to continue to read the article. I'm sure many of you can read for yourselves. I'll post the article down below in my YouTube video in the description area. This is, again, another mass shooting and another mass shooter who is addicted to some kind of prescription drugs. Regardless of what it is. It doesn't matter if it's Xanax, it doesn't matter if it's Prozac, it doesn't matter if it's something like Celexa. And obviously, if he was taking Xanax, I'm sure he took it to ease depression of some kind. He probably was a very depressed kid because all the wealth that he had made him lonely, made him withdrawn. So instead of actually addressing the core issues of what this kid was dealing with, he went on Xanax. He went on the supposed happy pill or something to that effect. Now, what we see here is, of course, a pattern that a lot of these mass shootings, and this really wasn't a huge mass shooting. He, of course, stabbed a couple people, but, I mean, that's besides the point. The fact is that this guy was on psychedelic drugs, or he was on psychotic drugs. He was on antidepressants. He himself was not getting the treatment necessary for him to be able to prevent him from doing something this dangerous, this harmful. And from my experience, I was on Celexa. I was on Celexa for about 5 years. I can't remember exactly how long I was on Celexa. It was something like 5 years, 4 or 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. And I can tell you that I was very depressed before Celexa. And, I had other issues as well. I took 3 times the dosage, more of what an adult would be prescribed. So the therapist I had overdosed me. Whether on purpose, I don't know. But I was clearly overdosed on Celexa. And the type of experience that these drugs can give you is that, yes, the selling point is that basically what the selling point is if you take these medications and you talk to a therapist, well, that's supposed to make you happy. That's supposed to make you feel better. That's the premise. That's what we're told. But as you can see here with all the mass shootings and the fact that they're on prescription drugs, that's really not the case. And I can tell you from personal experience, after having taken prescription drugs personally, that my problems got even bigger when I took them. I got even more depressed. I got even more isolated. I got even more lonely. It was something that made the problem that I already was experiencing beforehand far worse than what it would have been without the drugs. And of course, instead of trying to solve the core issues of the problem, you make the problem bigger by giving these people drugs that essentially alters the chemicals in their brain, manipulates the chemicals in your brain to destroy things like empathy and many other things as well. This is just another classic case of Big Pharma gone wrong. That's why I think I'm going to go ahead and title this film med-free zones. I think we need to have medication-free zones, and that will be, instead of gun-free zones, medication-free zones. That's exactly what we need, is not to get rid of the guns, not to get rid of knives or anything like that. We need to get rid of the medications that people are taking that are essentially destroying them. Absolutely disturbing, to say the least, because, I mean, how many people, especially Americans, are taking prescription drugs? And as a matter of fact, the people from all over the world look at what Americans are taking, and they look at the medical industry that were a part of, or at least Big Pharma, and people around the world are scratching their head. People around the world don't take the medications that we do. I'm not saying that they don't entirely. I'm sure there are foreigners who do take similar types of medications. But what I'm saying is the vast majority of the population outside of the United States doesn't take Big Pharma crap. And furthermore, you have, of course, vaccinations that even Harvard links to as causing mental retardation, essentially killing, brain cells, things like that. So you have issues with vaccinations. You have issues with Bayer a few years ago adding STDs to their medications. And, it took, a certain period of time before someone caught on to it, and they ended up getting at least a slap on the wrist. But, of course, they weren't shut down. They were allowed to continue, even though they blatantly assaulted everybody that took their products. Really, the whole point of this video is that when are people going to learn? And this guy was from a very wealthy family, obviously. It was very much isolated because of that wealth, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. He was given everything that he ever wanted. He was given the lifestyle that he would have wanted, and yet he still did this. And it really just tells you that wealth isn't the most important thing in the world. Because if wealth was really one of the most important things in the world, why aren't people like this more happy? Why aren't people like this, or not more happy, why aren't people like this happier, I mean? Why aren't people like this doing these such atrocious acts? With being, of course, being lonely, or saying that they're doing this because they're lonely, or whatever. This guy posted several YouTube videos explaining what he was going to do, and he was going to do it. And of course the police decided to ignore that. Everybody else but the parents decided to ignore that and go on their way. Of course the parents were the ones who called the police. I just don't understand it. I really don't understand what it's going to take for people to realize that Big Pharma is not here to help you. Big Pharma is here to make a boatload of money off of you. They don't care if you go out and do something crazy. And it says it in the warning section on the label that this such and such drug might cause suicide, might cause you to go on a rampage of some kind. What is it going to take for Americans to actually start realizing that Big Pharma, again, is not here to help you? Furthermore, who knows what type of cocktails were in Xanax to begin with? Who knows what type of chemicals or anything that was put into Xanax to make people go crazy like that? I mean, because all I do know, I don't know much about the pharmaceutical industry, but what I do know is that drugs go through a 7-year patent. And a lot of times what they do is after the 7 years is up, they'll rename a drug, they'll claim that drug cures something else, but it'll still be the same thing. It'll contain the same components that it contained before, claiming that it cured such and such, when now they just repackaged it, relabeled it, and even said that now it cures something else. It's just got to stop. It definitely has to stop, and Americans overall just need to wake up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care. God bless. Bye.